New year, fresh start, time to recreate myself. What will I find when I walk down this path? New friends, new goals, new challenges to be met. I will meet them and I am going to succeed. New year, fresh start, it's time for self-discovery.
Episode 6. Precautions and Projects.
Well, let's go ahead and start the meeting, shall we?
Headmistress Darboux stood up. Her eyes were painted with an unsettling sheen, and her mouth formed a brutal scowl beneath her small nose. All at once, a quiet hush fell over the teachers' offices, and everyone locked gazes with their esteemed leader. Noah's heart swirled with a cyclone of prickly tension. As he gazed around the room at the other faculty members, several unique expressions kept appearing on his colleagues' faces. Some people, Miss Miyoshi for example, glared at Headmistress Darboux, although the headmistress didn't seem to mind. Other teachers, like Gregor, radiated with the same sort of unease that no doubt plagued the student body. Lastly, some of Noah's colleagues, as demonstrated by the mysterious Miss Montbella, appeared bored. Headmistress Darboux sighed ever so slightly.
As you all know, last night we held our annual school festival, and that there was an incident that occurred in the gym. What most of you don't know is there were actually 2 incidents last night.
A great stillness gripped the entire faculty, and even the less than interested faculty members perked up and gazed at the headmistress. Noah's chest grew tighter as the headmistress pointed at him.
Mr. Cruz was instrumental in stopping a plot that would have killed us all.
All of the other teachers regarded Noah critically, but then returned their attention to the headmistress when she started speaking again.
Mr. Cruz found someone placing an explosive sigil on the side of the school, and this sigil was linked to others positioned at key points around the facility.
Miss Miyoshi stood up.
Did you catch the perpetrator? Was this also connected to the attempt on my father's life?
Violent shivers slivered up Noah's spine, and he eyed Miss Miyoshi with growing gravity. Before he could pose a clarification question, Demi stood up.
Unfortunately, the assailant fled as Mr. Cruz came upon them. But we're not certain if the 2 incidents are connected yet. However, I would like to point out that Mr. Cruz and I had chased a strange person in the hallways a few weeks back as well.
Miss Miyoshi shifted to the side ever so slightly, and the gaze she beamed at Noah was far colder than a blizzard evening.
Maybe they were planning this attack for weeks. Frankly, I'm more than a little concerned that Mr. Cruz let this person go twice.
Noah winced, and his rational mind urged him to stop what he was about to say. And yet, his heart dominated his lips.
Actually, it might have been 3 times.
No one said anything, but every single teacher, including both the headmistress and Demi, watched Noah with grim, anticipating eyes. Miss Miyoshi was on the verge of exploding, and her hands had formed into fists. She opened her mouth to speak, perhaps to say something really scathing and threatening.
Let me explain. On my first day, there was a strange person dressed in a cloak who stood in an alleyway in front of the school's gate. When I tried to approach them, the person fled. I reported it, but the sigil incident may be separate from whatever happened in the gym, especially since the sigils were an arcanite.
Are you sure about that?
I am a master in reading, writing, and speaking arcanite, demonic, and devilic, as well as various other languages. I'm fairly certain.
Before Miss Miyoshi could respond back with a biting retort, as telegraphed by the literal fire starting to ignite around her fists, Headmistress Darboux asked a question.
Ms. Miyoshi, when did your father decide to visit the school festival?
The wrath in Miss Miyoshi's face diminished, and the magical fire around her hands snuffed out. She placed her hands behind her back and addressed the headmistress.
I would say that it was about 2 weeks ago.
And who knew that he was coming?
Well, only his closest aides. My mother, my siblings, and I.
That is what I had surmised.
Headmistress Darboux lowered her gaze for a moment, and then she swept over the faculty with her eyes.
Until we have further proof, I'm going to assume that the incident outside the school's walls had nothing to do directly with your father.
Noah raised his hand.
I'm sorry, but maybe I'm confused? Is her father someone important? Like an ambassador or something?
And then the answer, the only real answer, slapped Noah in the center of his mind so hard that he couldn't move. His eyes opened wide and his mouth just hung ajar. All eyes locked on him again.
What the hellos is your problem, you pathetic piece of shit? Yes, my father is the king of the demons. Do you have something against demons? 'Cause if you do...
That is quite enough, Miss Miyoshi.
Even though Miss Miyoshi clamped her mouth shut, her eyes radiated with an unholy bloodlust. She sat down and averted her attention from Noah. Headmistress Darboux lingered on him for a moment before she spoke again.
The incident within the gym has been revealed to be a plot on King Yaogodon's life. Luckily, several students and teachers jumped to the aid of the king and fought off the creatures that poured into our world. The students who were responsible for the attack have been expelled. Until further notice, I would like every one of you to keep your eyes and ears open for anything suspicious. Someone has ill intentions for our school and or the students within. I will not tolerate any threats to our students, so I am authorizing you to use deadly force against any perceived threats.
Noah drew in a deep breath and his lungs were filled to the brim with angry butterflies, all flapping to get out. No one said anything to condemn the idea, and so the headmistress dismissed everyone to go to their classes. Teachers clustered around both the headmistress and Miss Fodheis after the meeting. At the same moment, Miss Miyoshi locked gazes with Noah. As she started to move toward him, Noah grabbed his things and rushed toward the door. Luckily, he managed to get out into the hallway before Miss Miyoshi could confront him. Unluckily, Miss Miyoshi caught him as he was trying to ascend the stairwell.
Hold it right there, demon hater.
Miss Miyoshi pushed him against the wall with surprising force, and she placed her own body against his so he couldn't escape. Her hot breath blasted on his neck.
I'm not a demon hater.
A couple of female students started to come up the stairs, but they stopped and studied both Noah and Miss Miyoshi.
Move along, ladies. Mr. Cruz and I have something to discuss.
The students giggled and then rushed past Noah and Miss Miyoshi. His cheeks grew hot, but only for a moment. Once he saw the red-hot rage in Miss Miyoshi's eyes, all delight faded. Miss Miyoshi poked him in the chest really hard.
If you're not a demon hater, then why did you react like that when you found out who my father was? Obviously you're not from Hellos. So are you one of those stupid-ass purist mage bloods?
I'm not a purist either. If I were, do you think I'd learn and master the Helosian languages?
Don't you get smart with me, asshole. I'll smack the smugness right off your fucking face! You bring up a good point. You're not like the dumbasses. But you're not like a typical mage blood either. You're fucking weird, and something is off about you. And tell me what you are! Once I know, I can decide if you're going to be harmful or not for my students.
No. If you excuse me, I have to go to my first class. So do you.
Miss Miyoshi reared back her head a little, and an incredulous expression spread across her face.
Excuse me? You do not need to remind me about my classes. I've been a teacher for way longer than you.
She snarled ever so slightly, and then stepped away from him. Miss Miyoshi walked up the stairs a little, and then turned around and pointed at him.
Don't think this is over. I'm going to find out whatever you're hiding. You messed with the wrong woman.
Noah adjusted his shirt and flattened out any wrinkles.
I didn't even do anything. Jeez.
A small degree of satisfaction swept through Noah's core. The students herded into the cafeteria, and a combined hum of conversations flowed into one another like verbal streams flowing into a massive river. Today had been fairly uneventful, which was just the way he liked it. Considering the day prior, it was a blessing that the students weren't all riled up. Several other teachers also had lunch duty that day, and all but one of them gave Noah warm nods or waves. One of the faculty members, a certain Miss Issa Montbella, leaned against the far wall on the other side of the cafeteria. Her eyes bore into an open book she held in her hands. The book had a dark maroon-colored exterior and black lettering across its front and the spine. Nothing covered the back cover. Miss Montbella's attention remained unwavered, even when students called out to her to say hello. Noah crossed the floor and stood in front of her. She didn't acknowledge his presence, but flipped to the next page of the book. The lettering on the front cover and the spine of the book weren't in the common tongue, nor were they in Arcanite script. The symbols had sharp, short lines that formed strange geometric sigils. Well, to the untrained eye, they would have been strange. Noah opened his mouth to speak.
Go away.
Miss Montbella hadn't even looked up from the page she was transfixed by. Noah just smiled.
I was just going to say that it's interesting that you're reading a tome in ancient Denean.
Miss Montbella lowered the book, and she seemed to study Noah a little more scientifically.
You can read ancient Denean.
I'm a linguist. While I can speak and write in little more than 12 languages, I have studied and can read many more ancient scripts. So, you're researching ancient countercharms? Is this related to your family curse?
It's related to minding your own business.
She started to read once more, and when Noah didn't move off, her voice chilled a little more. Just as before, her attention was centered within the pages.
Is there something I can help you with, Mr. Cruz?
No. But maybe I can help you. I could help
No, thank you. I'm fine. Have a good day.
Noah nodded, walked away to the other side of the cafeteria, and finished his lunch shift there. The sharp whistle cut through the air, and 24 students stopped in place. Sweat glistened from their heads, and more than a few had ragged breaths. The stink of effort and desperation perfumed the air. Noah stood on the side of the gym floor, and he had his arms crossed. He watched the students as they went through their endurance drills. But every 30 seconds or so, Noah glanced at the exits and entrances to the gym. The headmistress had enacted powerful security spells, but it did little to curb the edge of Noah's heightened alertness. Coach O'Malley stood in the middle of the gym floor, and a dark glimmer flickered in his eyes. His hands rested on his hips, and his mouth formed a downward scowl. The whistle still jutted from his pressed lips. He spit it out, and the whistle fell against his chest, as it was connected to a lanyard.
Do you call that hustling? A bow-legged troll hag could move faster than you all, even when she's ankle-deep in swamp muck. Pick it up, otherwise you're going to get creamed. And if you do, mark my words, you're going to feel my wrath. Let's start the drills again from the top, starting at 1.
The student athletes groaned in unison.
Okay, in that case we're going to start at -5. Want to go for -10.
This time, no one protested, and the students started running across the floors again. After about 8 minutes or so, Coach O'Malley blew the whistle again.
Take a 5-minute breather, and then we're going to start skirmish matches. Hey, Assistant Coach Cruz, please come here.
Noah sprinted over to Coach O'Malley.
I need a favor. I'm pretty sure I left the playbook in my desk in the teacher's offices. Can you please go and get it for me?
Sure thing. Are we going to practice some things for the skirmishes?
Nah, I'm still waiting to establish a good baseline foundation for the new players. The old heads could do with a refresher on the fundamentals. I want to take the playbook home, but I don't want to have to trudge up the offices after practice.
I'll be back soon.
Noah left the gym and moved through the dark corridors. The sun had already set, and the shadows spanned the interior of the school like haunting spiderwebs. His blood chilled a little, and he channeled a little magic into his palm as he moved about, just in case. Every time he passed an open doorway, he paused and looked inside. Eerie stillness glanced back at him. His dry lips grated at his attention, so he dragged his moist tongue against the hardness that had formed on his lips. Instantly, they softened, and as they did, the prickly tension in his heart softened a little too. Aside from the excitement going on in the gym, the school radiated with a solemn sense of emptiness. Under normal circumstances, the quiet and stillness would have been a comforting thing. Too bad that unusual and peculiar incidents had popped up recently. Noah opened the door to the teachers' offices and looked inside. No movement, no sound, nothing out of the ordinary. He moved across the floor over to where Coach O'Malley's desk sat. Resting on top of it was a thick 3-ringed notebook. The words, "Secret Playbook, Do Not Peek," written in blue permanent marker, sat on the front of the notebook.
Gee, I wonder what could be in here.
He picked up the notebook and then turned to head back out of the offices. A flicker of light caught his eye. Noah's core stiffened, and he held the playbook to his chest like a treasured child. The light hadn't come in from the room, but from across the way, from a window on the opposite side of the school. Could that have been a trick of the mind? His imagination manifesting his tensions? Noah stared at the spot again, all the while swallowing and moistening his dry throat. A few seconds later, a faint azure hue lit up the dark classroom window. It was on the same floor, on the opposite side of the school where it wrapped around. Noah's heart raced as he sprinted from the teacher's offices. Magic formed on the surface of his palm. Within the span of a single breath, Noah held EA lovingly. When Noah got to the hallway where the classroom was located, he stopped and then adopted a more stealthy approach. He snuck up to each classroom and peeked into them. Most of them had opened doors, all except for one particular door on the left side of the hallway. Noah swallowed hard as he moved more cautiously toward the door. He gripped the shaft of his spear tighter, and he placed his back against the wall. Another small blue flash made some of the glass on the classroom door shimmer for a moment. The air zapped with slight power. He drew in a deep breath and then slowly slid open the door. The room was dark, and a single person stood on the far side of the room. A magical something glimmered in the darkness, while other runes trailed around the spot on the table at its base. The figure looked up at Noah just as Noah extended his free hand and spoke in his native tongue. Silver shackles attached to chains reached out from the wall and grappled the person. Instantly, they were pulled against the wall with significant force. Noah turned on the light.
No! Damn it! No!
The glowing something cracked and then shattered into a million pieces. Noah's eyes adjusted to the sudden change in light as he placed EA's spear tip at the base of Miss Montbella's throat.
What the fuck?
What the fuck is right? Were you the person who tried to destroy the school? Is this another attempt at taking innocent student lives?
The anger that had once dominated Miss Montbella's face fell away, and tears outlined her eyes.
No. I swear this is just a big misunderstanding. Please let me go and I'll explain.
If you try to run, you'll fail.
I won't run, I swear. Just let me go.
Noah snapped his fingers, and the shackles and chains faded away. A heavy silence fell among both Noah and Miss Montbella. Noah lowered his spear but he still held it in front of him. She stared at it as she rubbed her throat, where both the shackle and the spear had been directed.
Holy hellos, Mr. Cruz! What the actual fuck is your deal? Who runs around in an empty school at night with... Can you please put that down? I told you, I'm not going to run. Fucking hellos!
Noah narrowed his eyes and allowed the spear to fade away.
I'm here because I'm the assistant coach for Essence Ball. What are you doing here alone in the dark, Miss Montbella?
Did you tell anyone you found me?
Not yet.
Please don't. I know it looks bad, but I was not doing anything to hurt anyone.
So what were you doing?
I was making a magical artifact. It wasn't anything dangerous, I swear. The artifact was going to produce light and breathable air for miners who worked underground and such.
Why did it break as soon as I stopped you? I know quite a bit about artificing, and artifacts don't just break like that.
It broke because you turned on the light, and the material I was working with to make the artifact's core was light sensitive. You set me back by at least a week, and the client's deadline is fast approaching. I might not be able to make it in time.
You're seriously telling me that you were just artificing in here?
Yes.
You really expect me to believe that
That I was using school resources to create an artifact in which I could sell for my own personal gain? Yes.
Wait. What? Are you being serious with me right now?
Yes. And it's not like I'm not replenishing the resources out of the profit. Because I am. I'm just taking a large portion for my own goals.
Noah crossed his arms over his chest.
Wow. I'm a little surprised.
Oh. You can shove judgment up your ass. It's not like I'm just blowing all this extra money on stupid shit. I need it.
Oh? So I take it you regularly stay after school and make stuff. I take it Headmistress Darboux doesn't know about this?
No. And I'd appreciate it if she doesn't find out. This, Mr. Cruz, please, it's important.
But why? Why is it important?
The money I make from these special creations goes towards helping me earn enough to buy a magical ingredient in order to complete a special potion. And I need an ultra-rare item. The thing is, only one person has that item, and the cost is stupid high.
Well, what does this potion do?
Miss Montbella's shoulders slumped a little.
If that book written in ancient Danean is right, the potion is supposed to lift curses. Powerful ones.
Powerful ones like the curse that affects your family.
I can't help the rest of my family, but I can help my sister. She doesn't deserve that wretched lifestyle. I've almost earned enough for the cost of the ingredient.
How much is the ingredient?
$1 million.
A white-hot panic flared in Noah's chest, and he felt his eyes open wide.
$1 million. That's outrageous. What is this ingredient that makes it so stupid expensive?
I'm sorry, but I don't want to tell you. The magical applications of this item are extensive, and I really don't want to risk a bidding war with someone over it. I hope you understand.
Noah just nodded.
That's why it is important that Headmistress Darboux doesn't find out what I'm doing. I'd be fired. And then I'd never be able to raise enough money for the item.
Miss Montbella held her arms to her chest and she stared at the surface of the desk, where the crumpled remains of the artifact lay. Her bottom lip quivered ever so slightly. Noah sighed for a moment, and then he held out his hands in front of him. He stared hard into the empty space of his palm.
What are you doing?
Noah spoke in his native tongue, and silver sigils flowed out from his barely parted lips. They swirled around, and the entire room became bathed in silver light. Miss Montbella just watched with open eyes. The magical words spun in circles together, and a form began to take shape. The shape glowed brighter for a moment, but then the light faded altogether. A silver orb with a series of grooves and holes carved into it sat in the open space above his palm. He walked over to Miss Montbella and offered it to her.
The activation word for this artifact is Europy. You can say the word again to stop it. Based upon your description, the orb will follow the activator, cast of light, produce clean air, and in the event of a cave-in, teleport up to 7 people to a safe location. Not to sound arrogant, but it is far superior than what you were trying to make. No offense.
How? How did you...
Let's just forget tonight, shall we? You'll forget where you got this one-of-a-kind artifact that you could easily sell for at least 200 grand, and I'll forget that you were doing something noble to save your sister. Is that fair? Please take this orb.
Miss Montbella swallowed hard, and then she grabbed the orb from him. She turned it over in her hands, and tears streaked her cheeks.
Are you serious?
Noah moved toward the door of the classroom.
I should go. Coach O'Malley will wonder why it's taking so long. Have a pleasant night, Miss Montbella.
Just as Noah had made it to the door, she called out.
Isa.
I'm sorry?
My name is Isa. If students aren't around you, you can call me Isa.
And my name is Noah.
Noah. Thank you for not telling Headmistress Darboux.
She held up the orb.
And for this.
You're welcome, Isa.
Noah left the classroom and moved down the dark corridor.